An interesting twist is coming in 2023 for modern/ultra-modern sports cards. We're going to talk about this. Stick around. Hello to all my sports card collectors, investors, all of my collectibles friends. Guys, we have made it to the weekend. I'm ready for the hot tub. I don't know about you. It is freezing here in North Carolina and I need a break. Hope everybody has had a great week. If you're new here, you're looking for pretty much daily sports cards, collectibles style content. This is it, friends. Hit that big red button down below, the subscribe button. And don't forget to connect with me on IG at SportsCardDad, as well as the Twitter, the SportsCardDad. All right, so I know, there's always a lot of kind of pushback, especially over the last 18 months, 2 years, actually going back in time, really, on prospecting in sports cards. And I'll kind of explain what I mean by that. But let's take a look at a quick clip from Cardboard Dreams, an awesome documentary that was done, I believe, in 1990, kind of chronicling what was going on during kind of the sports card boom in 1990. And of course, you've got some great clips from some of the guys that have been around, the dealers that are like, I don't understand why these kids are buying Don Mattingly when we have got Mickey Mantles and Willie Mays and all that. They won't spend a little bit more money on the older vintage stuff.
What I try to encourage people to do is look at it both ways. The kids, when a parent comes in and asks for a suggestion, I say, pick out something you really like. If you like the Mets, if you like the Yankees, if you like certain players, collect them. Get a little album, collect them, and don't worry about the value. Just, it's nice to have this. It's nice to show your friends and so forth. And also maybe buy the sets each year or pick out one or two guys and buy some cards. But if you do it strictly as investment, that's the only reason, you will get burned eventually. And you'll get burned pretty hard because maybe only 1 out of every 5 rookies will make it. I mean, I can name guys like Sam Horn and Joe Charbonneau that people bought like crazy. They were out of baseball. They're not around anymore.
We're having the same conversations today. Although cards have changed, though, we've got kind of newer, flashier relics and all sorts of different things that they didn't necessarily have in the 80s when I was a kid, but I digress.
Working overtime on the premiere of Fleer Ultra NBA basketball cards with tons of white-hot action. Marbleized borders.
Something magical is about to happen in sports as we move into this year. And you're like, Dustin, what the heck are you talking about? What's magical about sports right now? And the answer to that is that really kind of the old legends, kind of the guys that have really been running the show over the last couple of decades, i.e. LeBron James and the Steph Currys and the Tom Bradys of the world, they are getting towards the end. They're really in the twilight. The sun is setting on these careers. I know there's some people who say like, LeBron can play another 3 or 4 years, and that might be true. But the reality is that over time, as time goes on here over these next couple of years, these guys are going to start to fade away. And what's going to happen? That next crop, that next generation comes up. If we just look at basketball, let's look at today's NBA. LeBron and the Lakers, they started off really rough. Anthony Davis actually playing pretty well. He's healthy for a change, but you can see it. These guys, is this a championship team, this Lakers team? I don't think so. I mean, maybe they will their way one more time, but this thing is at the end. Steph Curry, I just saw, I think he's out for a few weeks with a shoulder injury. And not that I don't think that Steph's got another few years left in his career. He probably does, but he's already solidified his legend. All these guys have, whether it be LeBron or Steph or some of these guys that are still left over. But you've got young teams that have really come on. The Grizzlies and Ja Morant. You've got the Bucks and Giannis. I remember there was a time where it was like, Giannis is never going to win a title. That guy's never going to win a title. Well, he's got one, and, the Bucks look pretty good. And the thing, too, that I think is important here is once these, LeBron James and the Steph Currys leave the league, somebody's got to win the title. The one thing that we always talk about, I think it's kind of smart, too, when you're spending money in cards, you're trying to be careful because prospecting, it's like 99% are going to lose and 1% is going to win, so you buy kind of a variety and that kind of covers you. But just like we say, hey, only one team can win the championship, yeah, but that one team is probably going to be somebody new, or it's going to be somebody on the young side. It's Giannis getting that second ring, which propels him even more. Once you start getting into multiple rings for Giannis, or I don't know, Ja Morant and the Grizzlies get their first ring. I'm just throwing it out there. Zion and the Pelicans shock the world and get their first ring. There's going to be some shock and awe in 2023 and 2024 when it comes to these new, younger teams. Let's move over to the NFL. The Rams are not going to win the Super Bowl this year, so that means there's going to be a new Super Bowl winner. Patrick Mahomes, to me, is kind of like the Giannis in the NFL. He's got a ring, he's got an MVP, same as Giannis, and he might get his second ring MVP this year. But if he doesn't, look at all the other young quarterbacks that would really kind of propel, kind of like move them into that echelon of champions at a young age. Look at all the young QB talent we've got. You've got Josh Allen's in that mix. Joe Burrow is in that mix. Jalen Hurts. This is a guy in this past offseason, and he was a guy that I use as an example of people. You know what? People are going in on a Jalen Hurts. He's unproven, this and that. Very true. Unproven. I remember in the offseason, even Eagles fans were saying, like, this is make or break for Jalen Hurts. This is his year. He's got to make it happen or he doesn't. You know, you heard the same thing about Tua. Now, granted, Tua also just happened to get Tyreek Hill and Waddle. I mean, he's got some amazing weapons around him, but focusing back on Jalen Hurts, he's had an amazing season. Eagles are 10-1 or 11-1. They are just kind of trouncing people. What if Jalen Hurts gets his first ring? Whoever does get that first ring probably sets some sort of a new floor. It doesn't necessarily mean it's to the moon, but it probably means that it covers that downside to some degree. Because a lot of the guys that haven't won, they might have a few great seasons and then fall off the map. You know, look at a Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was having an MVP season for the Eagles 5-6 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it was. He gets hurt, and then his career has never quite been the same. There's obviously a ton of risk out there. You know, in baseball, I don't cover baseball cards very much, but Aaron Judge is a guy who, you know, showed a lot of promise, and then he was injured, and then he was kind of off the radar. And I know a lot of people bought into his cards a year ago, and then he has this massive season, and they've all cashed in on these huge Aaron Judge cards. You know, so while we do talk about the risks associated with prospecting, this is kind of why it happens, though. You know, you've got guys like the Giannis's and the Patrick Mahomes and, you know, the Luka Doncic. Even though Luka's not on a championship team, you know, what if? It's that what if factor. And do you believe over the next 15, 20 years that Luka does get a title or 2 or 3? You know, I think that's what people kind of do. That's what they do in this. And then it's just kind of estimating where everyone's price points are, whether you're looking at a Luka or a Patrick Mahomes or a Joe Burrow or a Aaron Judge, and making those, you know, those bets based on who do I feel like is a little bit underpriced. And I guess that's what makes it fun. So prospecting, I think there's levels of prospecting. Of course, in baseball, you've got prospects where it's like first Bowman. This guy is like brand new, you know, hasn't really done much of anything. And then you have Luka Doncic, who also could be considered a prospect. He is a proven prospect, meaning he can play He is a superstar, but he just doesn't have the accolades yet. But he's a kid. He's 22 or 23 years old. He's got a long road ahead of him, barring health. But, you know, so these are the kind of interesting things. People have to remember that we are coming to the end of an era for a lot of these guys. The Tom Brady's, the LeBron James, the Steph Curry's, they're aging out. And then we've got another 10, 15, 20 years of these young guys. And while not everybody can win the championship, somebody's going to win the championship. And whoever those somebodies are, kind of as we move over the next 10, 15, 20 years is what's going to make this really fun. So I don't know, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And this isn't to say that I'm out there doing a bunch of prospecting. I'm not buying into a lot of these young guys. But I just think it's going to be a fun couple of years for sports that really kind of transform some things. I think it's going to have an effect on certain cards, obviously, within the market. I'm really curious to see kind of what's hot at the National next year in July, because it will be a new Super Bowl champion. There will be a new NBA champion. And what will that look like? What are the dealers going to be selling based on all of that stuff? So guys, we've got some fun ahead. I know maybe with the macroeconomic stuff, it's a little bit of a bumpy road in 2023, but from a sports standpoint, I think that there's going to be a lot of fun ahead. So anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.